Welcome back to the AM 870 Wealth Summit, our 16th annual event. So happy to be here. I'm Jennifer Horn.
And I'm Grant Stinchfield.
And we host the Morning Answer 6 to 9 a.m. each and every weekday here on AM 870 and AM 590 The Answer. We are talking about all kinds of ways to gather wealth and plan for your retirement. We want you to watch. Join us. We're video streaming this event, am870theanswer.com. And, of course, you can always tweet us your questions as well at AM870 on Twitter. Joining us right now, our Wealth Summit continues. We're joined by Chris Mitchell, CEO and founder of Bitcoin Advisors. And, Chris, I have to ask you this because I'm going to just fully acknowledge that Bitcoin confuses the heck out of me. I don't know what it is. I want to know. I think there's an opportunity to make money here. We need to know. So what is Bitcoin for people who are confused?
That's a great question. A lot of people ask me that.
Yeah.
Especially when they find out if you put $10,000 in Bitcoin 2 years ago, today it's worth $86,000.
Oh, people are making tons of money from it. So that's why I need to know.
Even more impressive, if you put $10,000 in Bitcoin 10 years ago, today it's worth $60 million. And that's when really people...
Why didn't I do that?
I know.
Right? And part of my career, part of my story, somebody told me to buy Bitcoin when it was $100. Actually, it was this kid sitting in a cubicle right next to me. He said, hey, you got to buy Bitcoin. And I laughed at him. And I said, I'll never buy that magic internet money. And it was at $100. And a couple weeks later, I'm sitting in a cab next to a drunk guy, and he's like telling me, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a gold broker. And he says, oh, well, you got to buy Bitcoin. It's going to change the world. I just bought Bitcoin. It went from $100 to $300.
Wow.
And then I thought I missed it, right? I thought, oh, I missed it, just like Ford stock, just like every other tech stock out there that I missed, Apple stock. A year later, a friend of mine sitting next to me at the cubicle next to me, he was a Korean guy. He put a $250,000 into Bitcoin, turned it into $1 million in less than a year.
Unbelievable.
Finally said, Chris, you got to do this. And I broke the lock off my wallet, cashed in my 401k, and bought some Bitcoin at $3,000. It ran right to $18,000. And so back to answering your question, right? That's when people go, okay, what is Bitcoin?
Yeah.
It's just digital money, right? It's money you can send around the internet. As long as you've had a credit card or an online bank account, you've had digital money. So here's what's important. It solved a really big problem called the double spend, which is if I'm going to send you a digital dollar, how do I prove to you that I didn't send a copy of the same thing to somebody else? Because in the digital world, it's really easy to make copies, things like photos, any kind of digital content. So Bitcoin created a solution. It allows me to send you a dollar, prove that I didn't send it to anybody else. At the same time, we don't have any middlemen or banks, right, in the middle taking a fee or slowing things down. So Bitcoin created this kind of global version of cash or gold, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And it allows anybody to transfer value to anybody else in the world seamlessly over this global network.
You had mentioned it's like digital gold, right? What happens if the computer goes down? That's what people worry about. You still have safety?
So when you say what happens if the computer goes down, it's kind of like your bank, right? When you go to your bank and you ask for $500, right? They don't run to the back room and find a shoebox with all your dollars in it and come bring it back, right? It's all held on the bank's ledger. And that's what money is. If you study it, it's just a ledger. And Bitcoin is the best ledger ever created in history. And so, yeah.
So why should I invest in it?
Well, it's a fixed supply asset, right? So did you know there's only 21 million Bitcoin it can ever increase?
I didn't know the
That's
number,
it,
but
huh?
I knew that there was a not finite amount. There was just a set number. And that's it.
It's fixed. 21 million. It can never increase. And what it does is it gives people autonomous control over your finances, right? You're able to hold your own money, right? If I could be a bank, it would be the greatest thing in the world, right? I could be a bank. I can hold your money, right? Lend it out 10 times over and pay you 0.5% or whatever, no interest on your checking account. Then I'll charge 10, 20, 30% on credit cards and auto loans, right? I collect all the interest. And then if I go belly up because I took risky bets on subprime mortgages, the government's just going to bail me out with your tax dollars.
Right.
So the financial system is broken as we know it, right? You cannot trust your politicians. You cannot, especially Gavin Newsom.
You're in the right room for this conversation.
Right? There's no trust in the system. People have lost faith in institutions, right? Mm-hmm. So Bitcoin is not putting faith in people, right, to run something. It's a system that has rules, not rulers, right? So everybody plays by the same rules and everybody can play, right? There's no censorship.
Right. Now, you're listening to the 16th Annual Wealth Summit right here on AM 870 The Answer. Jen and Grant from The Morning Answer here. We're talking with Chris Mitchell, CEO and founder of Bitcoin Advisors. Want to give you this number. If you have questions, if you want more information about Bitcoin, 800-451-0662, 800-451-0652. And Chris
0662.
0662.
Yes.
Pardon me. 800-451-0662 is the correct number. And Chris, I want to ask you about the importance of using an advisor, because there are a lot of platforms where you can probably just go into the Bitcoin game, but what makes using an advisor the right step?
So, and my best advice to anybody right now, especially that we're in a bear market and stock market looks like it's going to get creamed. Interest rates are going to continue to go higher. Inflation's going higher. The Fed is lying out through their teeth about the inflation numbers over and over and over again, is don't invest in anything in crypto. Just get educated, right? Don't invest in anything. Get educated. And a simple way to do that, get our DVD. It's Bitcoin Life Savings Technology. You can go to our website, bitcoinadvisors.com. Get a free brochure mailed to your house, and it's the expert guide to crypto IRAs. And just begin to get educated, because you don't want to miss this financial revolution, right? There's a biblical principle out there, right? Sow a seed and get 100-fold, right? And there's kind of one last opportunity out there, and I believe it is in cryptocurrency, because just like the internet expanded from 1990 to the year 2000, right? We went from 0 people using the internet to everybody using the internet, right? Those people that said, I'll never use email or I'll never use a cell phone, right? Guess what they're doing now? They're using it, right? So there's 200 million active users of crypto right now. If we just keep growing at the same pace, which is about 113% a year adoption, in 3 years, 1 billion people will be using crypto. In 5 years, 3 billion people will be using crypto around the world. That is exponential growth, and that's what we saw in the dot-com bubble, right? In when people started using Apple and Microsoft and all the new internet companies came out. So there's going to be another boom, and we think Bitcoin's going to go to $250,000 over the next 3 to 5 years. So to answer your question about why use an advisor? Well, if you do this on your own, you're going to get wrecked. It's called getting baptized, right? When Bitcoin goes from $4,000 to $69,000 in a year, everybody thinks they're a genius. Your gardener, your pool man, and your neighbor all are going to tell you about their favorite doggy coin to buy, right? And what happens is you just get lucky. And that's called the great old saying, don't confuse brains with a bull market. And that's exactly what that was when everybody last Super Bowl was getting on the TV, flaunting their crypto.com card and blah, 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 right? Bitcoin goes to 4,000 to 69,000. You think you're a genius. But what happens is if you don't know how to take profits, right? You don't know how to trade, then those paper profits will turn into realized losses and a lot of frustration along the way. So what we do is we give you the ability to pick up the phone and call somebody and talk to a live person so you don't have to get baptized by fire, right?
Yes.
And we just come up with an investment strategy for you, custom tailored to you, whatever your time horizon is, right? If you're younger or, you're in the retirement red zone, right? We custom tailor a program that fits your needs. And
it's easier to explore with a map, right?
Yep.
Than just wander around.
Is there ever a scenario where you say, you know what, we're not going to worry really so much about the price. We think it's going to 250,000. When it goes to 60 now, 10 now, so we're just going to start collecting as much Bitcoin as we possibly can.
Yes, and that's when we are in a bull market, right? So, contrary to popular belief, people think that when stocks go down, Bitcoin will go up, or, we call it digital gold because it's life savings technology in a sense. It is the ability for 8 billion people to store their wealth, right? If you're in Africa, you can't put your life savings in Apple stock, right? Mm-hmm. If you're in Syria or Venezuela and your currency's collapsing, I don't know if you guys saw the currencies last year, but as the dollar skyrocketed, every other major currency, the British pound, the Japanese yen, they crashed 20-30%, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you put your life savings in when your currency's crashing? You got gold, that's an option, and that's my history. I was a gold broker for 13 years. I started buying Bitcoin in 2015 and then started selling it to my clients in 2018. And it was just a real smooth transition. So forgive me, I'm just rambling now.
No, you're good.
And this is great.
And you're getting into, because you were in gold, right? That was it seems like there's a lot of similarities here. How was the transition? What made you transition from gold into crypto?
Well, I had 3,000 gold customers, and I started buying, heavily Bitcoin in the 2017 region, and I saw it run from 3,000 to 18,000, and then I was like, wait a second, all these people investing in gold, which gold is a wealth preservation tool, right? And it hasn't been the best investment over the last 10 years. Since 2011, gold was at 1,900. Today, gold's at 1,825, right? Yeah. So if you just bought and held gold, probably didn't do too hot unless you were able to buy and sell and trade the asset, right? Gold fell from 1,900 back down to, I think, around 1,200. So maybe if you bought the dip, right? But with the high spreads out there, and it just hasn't performed as well as tech stocks, right? So, after learning about money and investments over the years, I saw how the risk to reward opportunity in Bitcoin was much greater. And so that's why I started to say, hey, if you got $100,000 in gold, why not put 10,000 in Bitcoin or 50,000 in Bitcoin?
And I think that's a key again, too. I mean, diversification and all this. You're not saying to sell all your stocks or sell all your gold. You're just saying diversify and put some money in Bitcoin.
Absolutely. It's just about another diversification and a way to get your assets, out of the system, right? Where you're not exposed to the bankers and the politicians who can change the rules on the drop of a dime.
Can you make money loaning off of your Bitcoin? So not taking a loan to yourself off the Bitcoin, but loaning somebody else off the Bitcoin.
Well, it's actually more, you can get a yield off of your Bitcoin. So there's different decentralized finance products that offer yield. So instead of, now the banks are paying a lot higher interest because interest rates have gone up so much, right? But you could get a yield, depending upon the market, anywhere from 4% to 10% on your Bitcoin, right? So you deposit your Bitcoin at call it a Bitcoin bank, and then they pay you interest on that loan.
Huh.
And your Bitcoin still moves with the market.
Correct.
Look at you. Yeah. You got him over here. All right. Chris Mitchell is with us, CEO and founder of Bitcoin Advisors. Want you to get that brochure, the DVD, bitcoinadvisors.com. And advisors is spelled with the Z, right?
That's right. Bitcoin Advisors with a Z.com. I always joke we have a bunch of guys in the back office wearing visors and studying the charts all day long.
And that's you got to get yourself educated on Bitcoin. It is the future. Bitcoinadvisors.com. Get that brochure and the DVD. Now, as a finance broker, how do you advise your Christian clients, Chris, on whether to invest in cryptocurrency or in other assets? Is that a challenge?
That's a great question. I love the Lord myself, and I go to church right here at Spirit Food Christian Center in the Valley, and a lot of my friends from church, even my own pastor, have come to me, hey, should I invest in Bitcoin? And I've always told people the same thing, whether you're a Christian or not. Start out investing. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose completely, right? Start there. Put a little bit in.
For sure.
Track the investment over 6 to 9 months. And then if you like what you see and you feel more comfortable, you can add to it over time. So I think it's not, should I invest in Bitcoin? It's like, how much should I invest? Right?
And start with the education. Get the brochure, the DVD right now, bitcoinadvisors.com. That's advisors with a Z. And you can always call 800-451-0662, 800-451-0662. Chris Mitchell, you'll be back with us in the next hour of the Wealth Summit. We want you all to join us as well. This is the live Wealth Summit right here on AM 870. Jennifer Horn, Grant Stinchfield from The Morning Answer, joined this year by Da Vinci Wealth Management, Bitcoin Advisors, and Midas Gold Group. When we continue, Ken Russo will join us from Midas Gold Group as the Wealth Summit continues right here on AM 870.